I have no idea where you're actually from. Where are you from?
So I am from Pennsylvania. I grew up in a little town called Camp Hill, and it is outside of the state capital of Harrisburg. So central Pennsylvania. I was just giving you more information. I was born in Hershey, Pennsylvania, the famous place of chocolate. So
Really?
delicious.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah, yeah. Used to go to Hershey Park as a kid a lot. Go to Hershey's Chocolate World and get your chocolate fix at the end. That was a staple in my growing up, my youth.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You sound like you're from this like picture perfect little Pennsylvania town.
It was a nice place to grow up.
So where did you end up going to college?
So, my undergrad, I went to Westchester University, which is in Pennsylvania, so going towards Philadelphia area. So I did my undergrad there for composition, and then scooted halfway across the country to Texas and went to UT Austin for my master's, and then came the rest of the way across the country and started doctoral work at USC, and then just loved California, of course, and have been here ever since.
So did you grow up playing instruments, being involved with music? Are your parents musicians?
My parents aren't musicians, although in their background, like my dad used to be when he was a kid, he played instruments, and my mom always has a lovely singing voice. But I grew up just doing all the music stuff. I mean, I started piano when I was 5. Got into doing lots of choral stuff when I was a kid. I was in the marching band. I was actually the drum major in the marching band for 2 years.
Nice.
Um, I played all the keyboard instruments and the percussion, the xylophone, marimba, vibraphone, all of that. I was in all the high school musicals, and I was in the chorus. So yeah, I mean, I did all the music that I could do. I did it in high school, and was also I would do a lot of singer songwriter performances as well. So when I was probably, I don't know, like ninth grade, probably 10th grade, I started writing my own songs and then would perform out at coffee shops. It was, coffee shops were the big thing in the 90s. And so would take my keyboard and go and perform and play. So yeah, I was doing music all along. Oh,
Oh,
I'm so sorry. That's my dog. It's a casual conversation where your animal speaks up.
he's welcome. He's welcome to
Sorry.
join us.
He has a big mouth. I've got my finger on the mute button if he does that again.
Oh,
Shh.
oh, hi.
There we go. So there it is. Pandemic world, pets wander through your interviews.
So, with all that musical stuff going on in your life, when did you decide to get into composition?
So when I was in high school and I was doing all the singer-songwriter stuff, I really realized that I loved writing music. And when I went and started thinking about going to college, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do composition. And so, I had a great band director who gave me a little opportunity to actually write something for the band when I was still in high school. And then when I went to I think it was like my audition at Westchester University. Rob Maggio was my teacher there, and he was like, "Yeah, we can have you in the composition program." And I took in a song, a singer-songwriter song that I had written that I'd actually won a competition with in high school, and ended up going to Universal Studios. So I was in Pennsylvania, and I won this competition my first semester at college. I went to Universal Studios for this big festival that I'd won this category of like singer songwriter, and so walked into
That's so
college with
cool.
that. And he was like, sure, we can let you be a composer, see what happens. Like, I didn't really know anything about writing for the other instruments or anything, but that's kind of how I jumped in, was segueing from singer songwriter and then into all the classical contemporary stuff I do today.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
kind of amazing. How random.
Yes. But it was cool to go on that trip, and that was at the point when I was like, oh, I thought I want to be a film, I want to write for film scores. And then going out to LA, I was like, whoa, this is really cool. So I always thought, oh, maybe I'll end up writing for film scores. And I think film scoring is really interesting, and it would be fun to do some of that someday. But I love the opera work and the classical contemporary work so much. So, there's plenty of time for everything.
So you haven't gotten to film scoring yet?
I did a little bit with student films at USC.
Hmm.
So when I was at USC, I made some friends who were in the film department, and so I did a little bit of work with that, and it was fun. I enjoyed it, but just the path has continued to take me along into all of the music that I'm doing for. I love chamber stuff. Love writing vocal music, and so I've just kind of following along that path for now.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. So what is your favorite instrument to write for?
That's
You
a
have
good
one.
question.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, dare I say the voice is definitely one of them.
Well, of course.
Well, of course. I mean, that's a given. Um, I've been writing a lot over the last, I mean, I want to say even like decade here for double reeds for oboe and bassoon. And there's something about those instruments that is really attractive to me as far as them having a very vocal quality to them. And so I always feel like when I'm writing for oboe and bassoon, it's like writing for a singer, in a way that I equate by the, I don't know, just the colors, and the textures and what you can do with them, especially with the oboe. I really equate like oboe and soprano, like they have a very similar sort of, I mean, very lyrical quality. So I think, yeah, like writing for the double reeds is definitely, a big joy that I really enjoy, writing for those instruments. But, you know, I'm pretty much all equal. I love them all.
I love that. Let's
Yeah,
pause for a second because there
sure.
are sirens. Okay, we can continue on now. I feel like every time I go onto Facebook,
Mm.
there is some new project that you're doing. How do you stay so very busy?
Because I've never learned to say no. No, I feel really lucky. I've had a lot of great projects come up in this last year, and just I think part of it is, I mean, my philosophy, the idea of collaboration and working with people. And so I believe that, every relationship has this opportunity to turn into a collaborative project or collaborative relationship. And so, yeah, I just, I think, it's that effect of, continuing to reach out to people and, having good interactive relationships with them, whether they've played a piece of mine or I've heard them play some music and I've reached out to them and said, "Hey, I really love what you're doing." And so, and just recognizing that sort of that symbiotic relationship that we have as composers to performers, like we all really can support each other. But yeah, I sort of just continue to get to work with great people who are very creative and come to me and say, "I have this idea for a project. Do you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Sure, let's do it." So, I mean, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it so much. I love digging into projects with people, and I love getting to know them and getting to know, their personalities and who they are and how to create a piece for them. So, I always love to just, I don't know, seek out new projects and new people to work with because it's so much fun. So I enjoy it.
I think that's a great quality that probably every composer, actually not just composer, but
Mm,
every performer needs to have. That is how you keep projects going. It's how you make relationships with other people in the industry.
yeah.
It's a really important quality. And I mean, that's how you got to the Kennedy Center, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just, and sometimes, you think, okay, I want to do these things in my life. And you're like, I have these, people have like your bucket lists or, whatever. You're like, I'd like to do this or that. And then sometimes I feel like if you foster relationships with people, these natural projects happen and you can, I don't know, sometimes you find it kind of jump on board and you're like, okay, let's do this project. And suddenly it's rolling to the Kennedy Center. You're like, okay, that sounds good. That's fun. And you put the hard work in to get to do it and get the work done. But I do think it's just fostering relationships and maintaining friendships with people, and really caring about who they are and what they do. And then that becomes the basis, like I said, for these relationships that then turn into these incredible projects, that you can't, sometimes you can't dream up certain things. They just happen sort of organically.
I I think that's a great philosophy to live
Mm,
by, and I think that that shows in your work and how you
mm,
interact with other people. I've never felt that we're just having an exchange
mm.
of goods.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I've always felt like, okay, we're going to have a relationship. We're going to work on your music together. We're going to make it the best that it could be, and get to know each other and our
Yeah.
pets in the
And
process.
our
And
exactly.
I think that makes a huge difference, an enormous difference.
Well, and I agree with you, and I feel really strongly that, I mean, for me as a composer, I I can't do what I do without wonderful performers like you and wonderful people like you who are out there, I mean, making beautiful music and doing wonderful things. And to me, like, it is fascinating to get to know, you know, performers and as these amazing human beings that become friends, right? Like, we become friends, and it's you're right, it's more than just, well, we did this project, see you later.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like we build something, and it's just the beginning of a foundation. Like, we build a foundation, and then we build on that, and we build on that, and it becomes a lifelong friendship and a lifelong collaborative opportunity. And so I think that that's a really exciting thing, um, to build and to grow over our lifetimes. Like, I feel connected to so many people in this way because they're more than just this person that, played my music. They're somebody that's, important to me, and I care about them as a human being. So, yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good we build these foundations and we build friendships. We can find those friendships within our relationships if we look at them as not just, you know, relationships of, convenience or whatever. Like, we build on them. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
How do you pick your text?
Good question. I like that. I love texts. I love picking texts. So I have some books on my shelf behind here of poetry that I've collected over the years. But a lot of times when I'm picking my text for pieces, it has to do with getting to know the person that I'm writing the piece for. So, starting there, and getting to know them and getting to know their interests. And then, maybe going out and seeking out poetry that fits their personality. Or, for example, I'm working on a project right now with a wonderful, actually, she's a bassoonist and a soprano. And she and I are doing a project together where I'm going to write her a piece for bassoon and singing. So it's going to be a really unique piece because it's going to be her playing sometimes and her singing sometimes. Her name is Gina Kufari. She's a bassoonist. She's out in New York area at
Mm.
NYU and Connecticut. And she's somebody that I've known, for a while now, and we've fostered this great friendship. But for this one, we had a very specific, storyline in mind. And so I actually reached out to a poet that I've known for years who lives in Florida. And we got together, the three of us, and created this collaborative relationship. And Carla Lynn Merrifield is the poet, and she wrote us a brand new poem for the piece. So rather than trying to find a poem that kind of fit, which I do sometimes, like sometimes you go looking for poems that fit your project. I actually had her write us a new piece or a new poem. And I think that's super exciting. Like, getting a chance to, like, work with a living poet to shape something in the mind of what your project is about is like a dream come true.
So
Yeah.
you're so lucky you get to work with these living poets.
Yeah. And even like with Oliver Mayer, our wonderful librettist for Three Paderewskis, um, that's just been such an incredible, collaborative relationship, friendship, in that he's creating this new thing, and then we sit down and we talk through it and we dig through it, and I do stuff to it and he does stuff to it, and we kind of figure out what works. And he's very flexible with letting me say, you know what, what if I drop this line? He's like, sure, okay, that's fine. Or what if we move these things around? So like it's kind of a dream collaboration. We've got somebody that is so easy to work with that it becomes this project where it all just feels like it was always there and you just have to kind of chip away at it. I always think about this as oh gosh, the sculptor, I'm blanking now, who always said that the sculpture was already in the marble. He just had to kind of click away at it.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
Oh gosh, I'll be Googling that later.
Perfect. And I should have that on the tip of my tongue because I always think about that. This idea that like, especially when you've got such a great relationship with someone and you're working on something, how it just falls together. Like it's not hard. I mean, there's work involved in it, but like it's like it's meant to be. Like it was always there. I love projects like that.
I feel like that's how projects should be.
Yes, they should. And when they're really hard and they're really like you're just fighting with everything, it's just not fun.
That
Not at
is
all.
true. I think it also takes some special people in order to make that all happen. I feel like
Yeah,
everybody has to be so open to collaboration in order for that kind of relationship to form.
absolutely. And that's why, you're drawn to people that are like-minded like you as a collaborator. Yeah. And then when you meet somebody who isn't and they're kind of bossy in a project, you're like, oh, no, I don't want to do
No,
this.
it's such a bummer. It's like, why?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think and I feel like as we get further, into our, careers and figuring out what we do and don't want to do, we start to eliminate those kind of projects from our lives, slowly but surely and start to, spot them before they happen. For
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
This is so true.
True.
I'm not making that mistake again.
Exactly. You're like, note to self, don't ever do that again.
How do you feel about the being labeled as a female composer as
Hmm.
opposed to just being a composer?
That's a great question. And it's an interesting question because I think about this a lot because I've been very fortunate to be also included on series and events where they are focused on the woman composer, or the woman artist. And I'm so glad that people are doing wonderful projects that are doing the work to bring attention to musicians, artists, poets, whatnot, who may not have gotten that focus because, you know, the way our society is set up sometimes is very, very blind to what's not in the standard or in the norm. And so I'm grateful for people to bring attention to that. My hope and my goal is that over the next few years, that we come to a place where we don't need to have so many separate labels that we can say, we do a concert and of course it has women on it. And of course it has, black composers on it. And of course it has, this variety of people represented to a point where we shouldn't have to think about it. Like that's my wish that we would just like be equally programming all the time. But I think the work has to be done now to get to that point. Like we have to drive home the point. No, we're not getting equal representation on concerts. We need to be focusing on getting to where we don't always have to call this out because it's become so much part of our culture. But it's not quite there. or maybe not even close yet. I do want people to just look at me and say, "Oh, you're a composer and I like your music. You're a composer and I recognize that I enjoy this type of style of music that you do or whatever. Or even you're a composer and I don't like your music. Okay, great. But it's yeah, I think the people that are doing these programmings and really bringing attention to this, it's good and it's positive because we can celebrate what has been typically maybe underrepresented in concerts and in series and in focus in our society. And what a great day that would be to just go to a concert and it is just we don't even say, "Oh, it's such a diverse program." You're just like, "Oh, yes, there are many different interesting people on this program, and they're names that we begin to get to know. There's composers that are established, there's emerging composers, and so I think it's important, you know, and there's so many people doing the work right now in programming that are so focused on it and are doing such good for our society, just in general, not even just music, but just good for our society. And in this recognition that we do need to pay attention and be more widely open to everyone. It'll be ongoing. It'll be an ongoing work, I think.
Yeah, I think you're totally right about that.
Yeah.
What do you see as the future of new music?
I think the future of new music will continue to evolve, and I think it's going to evolve in a good way with diversity, with bringing recognition to, you know, many composers that have not been recognized, and not only like current. I know we're saying about new music, but like current composers, but like composers that of the past that didn't get recognition that they should have. So like I almost feel like that will be part of new music, because suddenly we'll start to know music that's been around for 100 years, 150 years, that we didn't know this composer because of, racial inequality, because they were a woman composer, whatever. And so I think that's pretty exciting. But I do feel like new music is going to continue forward in a positive way. The shift that I've seen in new music, even over the last like decade, probably plus, is this recognition that there are all different styles and types of new music, and that the boxes that sort of were in place for quote unquote new music, I feel like are not as prevalent anymore. And I feel like new music is crossing every genre. And so I think that that's really exciting, because it means that, like, you know, I can write opera that maybe isn't like traditional opera, but it sort of falls into like the opera musical category. And that's cool, because, yeah, who needs a label on it? You can call it opera, but opera is like now an umbrella for something larger. So I like that. I think that's positive, and I think it means that composers now can also not be afraid to express who they are in their music and not be worried that they're going to be judged for it. I felt like for many years I was judged, or I felt like I was being judged for writing very accessible lyrical music, because that wasn't sort of in the box maybe of new music. And now I'll do what I want.
Right. That wasn't the trend for a while.
It wasn't, and it was a real struggle, to just say, this is how I write, this is what I'm going to do. And just, and as we get more established, and we grow older too, we sort of get to places too where we say, hey, this is me, you take it or leave it, like this is it.
Yeah, but
So
you're also
yeah.
making a good point, because I think new music does have this stereotype of being totally inaccessible to anybody who isn't a musician,
Yes.
and that has to stop.
Yes. And we have to find ways to include our audiences into this, and new audiences too. And I think that there's a lot of people in the new music world that are really doing that with some of their ensembles, and really trying to bring in audiences and make it I use the word accessible because that's how I feel about it. Audiences, we want audiences to be able to access what we do. Both, um, we can challenge them, but that's fine. But also like accessible monetarily too. And I think that that's something that I feel like the new music world is doing too, is it's making it accessible to everyone. And I think that's really important. I mean, we got to grow a new generation of people who love music and who want to support it, who want to be part of it, and who even just want to be active and involved audience members. They don't have to play the music, but they want to be active and involved, and they want to be part of something. Yeah.
Yes, totally
Yeah.
agree with you. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a reason why all the opera companies do Carmen or Bohème every single season, because they know it's very accessible to
Y-
audiences and they want to come
Yeah.
see it. And then they'll throw in some new music show
Right.
to get
Right.
people, dipping their toe.
Right. Like, this is new. You should try it. Well, as long as there's Carmen, we'll listen to it.
Right.
Okay. Fine. But I feel like that's gonna I feel like that's shifting, and I think the pandemic maybe has had a lot to do with that because we've taken so much online and we've offered so much music to an audience that couldn't come to it before. Like these thousands and thousands of hours of concerts that were on YouTube, streaming YouTube or Facebook, of music that, like, I would go to concerts of people, who I knew were performers, and I'd listen to things and I'm like, I've never heard this performance for this piece before. I don't know who this composer is. And they're like, new pieces, new works. And that's really exciting, to just be like feeling like when we were in college and you have to go to a bunch of concerts, and you're right there and you got to go and it's part of what you do. It felt like that again, where you're just like, oh, tonight I'm going to go to, a chamber concert. Tomorrow I'm going to go to a solo piece, solo concert. Tomorrow I'm going to go watch like a new opera from, a year ago. It's been really exciting. Yeah. And I hope and I think that it's opened the door for people to be curious about what's out there and what's available. And I hope that that continues, like this hybrid model too, of being able to offer live stream even as we go back to live things, to be able to continue to offer a live stream option for people to attend. I think is going to be powerful, and I hope it stays, and I hope it changes the landscape. Yeah.
Oh, I hope so too. I hope it
Yeah.
brings in such a bigger audience for classical music just in general, not
Yeah,
even
me
just new
too.
music. Yeah, just
Just
classical music.
exactly, for across the board,
Yeah.
that we get that new generation. I say new generation, but let's just say new group of people that are, willing to sit down and listen to something, and willing to, donate money to organizations, and are willing to explore a type of music they might have not explored before. And so I think that'll be a positive thing that comes out of this fantastic year of craziness.
I keep hoping that once we move out of the pandemic, the arts are just going to explode.
Yeah, I think so. I think they will. I think people are going to be hungry for everything,
Yes.
for everything, and for any opportunity to, you know, go and hear live music, or go, see live music streaming, see live music in person, see performances in person. I think they're going to be hungry for it. And I think it's going to really accelerate um, opportunities, I think. Like, I think we're going to see an explosion of performances, new works, new commissions, new things like that. And I think that it means that we're going to have this crazy time where we are just filling the world with new music for like generations to come, which
Oh,
is
I
really
hope
cool.
so. I
Yeah,
hope so.
I think so.
That would
Yeah.
be amazing.
Yeah. Just like an explosion. Like there's so much new music. We're like, who who even needs the last like 200 years of music? We've just got like 2021. The output was incredible.
So how did you get into yoga?
So yoga is my my companion composition, and I sort of joke about that, and I'll tell you how I got into it. But I always think about yoga as this, place that I go that's another creative outlet that sometimes feels like writing a piece of music, from like creating a sequence for teaching a class and sort of telling a story within it. So that was something that drew me to yoga. Um, but gosh, getting into yoga, I actually I'd done yoga a little bit over the years and never really got into it. And then, as a composer, I sit around a lot. Like you're seeing I say, I'm in my box. This is where I do a lot of my work, is here in this special office space here, So it's, sitting a lot and really needing to be more active. And then back in 2008, I had been diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and went through like thyroidectomy and radioactive iodine treatment, and a while to kind of get feeling like normal again, and was like, I need to do something good for myself. Like I need to take care of myself. And it wasn't like I got thyroid cancer because I didn't take care of myself, but it was just like one of those things where you're like, I can do something for myself. And
Oh,
so
sure.
started digging into yoga, found a teacher that I loved. And then one day she was like, hey, I'm going to be doing this yoga teacher training at this other studio at Kava Yoga in Long Beach. And, you know, don't know if you all want to do it, but, here's information. And my brain started ticking. I was like, could I? Should I? I couldn't. I couldn't do teacher training. That's crazy talk. Like, I don't have any business doing that. And then I was like, yeah, no, the type A personality was like, you're going to do this. So I did it. And actually, my husband with Simon did it with me. So we did I ended up doing our 200-hour teacher training.
Oh,
And
so he has a certificate too.
he does. We both did it together. We actually did our 200-hour and then we followed it up with our 300-hour. So we both have our 500-hour teacher training certificates. And then that wasn't enough for me because I like getting certificates. So then I did my prenatal teacher training, and so I have a certification for prenatal. And then I continued to evolve in that, and I did a pelvic floor yoga certification. So I love it. I love all the yoga. I love all the anatomy. Oh, the anatomy is so much fun. So like I just dug in, and we always kind of joke that yoga is a rabbit hole. Like you go down a little bit, you're like, I want to know more. And then you start doing more and more. And pretty soon you've got like 8 certificates and you're teaching and doing all this crazy stuff. But I really love it. Like I love teaching yoga. And like I'd said, it feels a little bit like writing music to me. Like it's another creative outlet, but it's physical, but there's an element to it that I love, is this idea of, we can take care of ourselves, body, mind, and spirit. And I think for musicians, I think that's really important, that a lot of times we just push, 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 and we never give ourselves permission to relax, or to say I can't, or I shouldn't, or I need to ground, I need this right now. And I think yoga gives us a permission to explore that, whether you're doing physical asana or whether you're doing meditation, breath work, combinations of it. So I found it's been really useful in grounding me and calming me over the years, and give me the physical too. Like the I do, I'll teach a lot of flow yoga too, but I also teach restorative yoga. So it's all about being in comfy blankets and laying on the floor in nice
I'm all
cozy
about that.
poses. Oh yeah, restorative is awesome. So, but I love the aspect of yoga of feeling like I can support someone in their own personal journey, in their own personal thing that they're doing. And that if I can give them a little tidbit of something just to carry with them that they can incorporate into their own life, like I love feeling like I can be supportive of people in that way. So yeah,
That's
yoga's
so
fun. It's
interesting.
fun. Hmm.
You have such like a supportive personality. Now
Mm.
that I mean, I just realized that as we've been talking during this interview, the whole aspect about yoga is you're trying to help other people. You're supporting other people by helping them, I guess, find themselves or support themselves. But then, when you
Yeah.
were speaking about writing pieces for other people and picking text, I mean, it's sort of the same concept. You're
Hmm.
picking text based on how you can support the musicians.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I think I'm really curious about people, and um I love to get to know things that they love, because I feel like it's so beneficial. Like I get to know who they are, and then, I get to learn a little bit about something too. Like I get to, learn about, the story that they want to tell, and I get to figure out how to tell it, and then I get to go, for that aspect, go do some research and find out. And I love that kind of work too. But I love really supporting people. Um, and the yoga practice is really I mean, it's rewarding in that way, but I also think of it as something where I find ways to offer tools to people that they can incorporate into their own lives. And I love hearing when people are like, "Oh, that restorative practice, it made me feel really calm. I was having a really crazy week and I took this restorative practice and it calmed me down." And I'm always like, "That's great. Like, remember that, whatever you did here, carry that with you, and like stick that in your life toolbox." And then you can use it throughout your week and your life. Yeah.
Yes, we all need that reminder for sure.
Yeah, we do. And maybe a little bit selfishly, teaching yoga reminds me of that. When I'm working with people, they're like, "Oh, this was so great," and then I'm like, yeah, I should try to do more of that for myself sometimes too. So it's a good, it's there it is, it's the symbiotic relationship again.
Exactly, exactly.
Totally.
Well, I teach technique all day. It makes me a better singer. It's the same concept.
Exactly. And you internalize it, like you internalize it, right? As the teacher, because you've got to internalize it so that you can turn around and open your mouth and you can show them, you can sing it, you can speak it, you can physically do it. And then suddenly, yeah, you're better and better at it for it. So symbiotic.
So first up, what's your favorite word?
My favorite word, um, you know what word just came to my mind just randomly? I don't know if it's my favorite. Onomatopoeia. I don't know. It's fun to say.
It is fun to say. Why not?
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
What's your least favorite word?
My least favorite word. Okay. Moist. No.
Not doing it.
No. Doesn't. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
I get that. I get it. Yeah. What's your favorite swear word?
Oh, my favorite swear word. Um, can I say it?
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know. Sometimes I like shitballs, like something just made up. You know, shitballs, nuts or nuts. I think I say nuts a lot. That's not really like a dirty swear word, but nuts.
Well, that's kind of an old word, right? Didn't they used to say nuts all the
I
time?
feel like that was like shocking, like nuts. Oh, maybe that was it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll spell my.
that's from your time growing up in Hershey, Pennsylvania, I feel like. So Harrison does tricks. Is there a trick that you wish he could do, but probably will never be able to do?
Well, it's a trick that I'm trying to teach him, and he's got it like halfway, but I think he's just stubborn and refuses. I try to get him to fetch my shoe. So I'll say, when we're going to go somewhere, I'll say, fetch shoe. And he'll fetch it, but then he'll come and stand in front of me and he'll shake his head back and forth and then he'll run in circles and he'll take it to another room. I'm like, no, you, and then I'll say, drop it. And he'll, and then he'll run away. I was like, we're not there. And I don't know if we'll ever be there, but I dream of my dog fetching my shoes. You know, like have your dog fetch your slippers. He fetches my slippers. He just runs to the other room and like leaves it laying in the middle of the living room. So
Not helpful. Not
not helpful. Not helpful at all. So maybe never. If he does, I'll make a video when he finally gets it right.
amazing.
Yeah,
Okay,
totally.
my last question is, if there's a heaven, what
Okay.
do you think God will say to you at the pearly gates?
Wow. Okay. What will God say to me at the pearly gates? Um, Hopefully, let's see, maybe he'll say, um, hopefully you did a good job. You were nice to people, and um, I don't know, like
I know it's a hard one.
it is a hard one. Like you always like to imagine that hopefully he's going to say something nice to you, and not just like, really, do you want another round to try that again?
You need to be reincarnated.
We need to you need to work on this thing again. I don't know. Maybe he'll say like he really liked one of my pieces of music.
Oh,
I don't know. It was pleasing. That's good.
come
I don't
on
know.
in.
Maybe that's our wish. You have the one thing that somebody really, really loves, or that really made people happy. Like maybe that's it. You just hope that there's that thing that pleases people. So there we go. Maybe that's heaven, is doing the thing, doing something that um you're good to people and you've done something that's made them happy.
And then you get a little validation.
You do, exactly, and like a gold star or something like that. Or a sticker of your choice.
Right? Your little halo.
My little halo with like, I don't know, a sticker on it. It's good. I like it. As long as it's a scratch and sniff sticker. I think that's the important thing. So
Okay, what
totally.
flavor?
Grape. Because they all really smell like grape, don't they? Or like what grape smells like in sticker world. Like, what is that smell? It's like purple dye number 5 or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
probably.
But grape seems right.
Perfect. Perfect. I
Perfect.
love it.
There it is.